Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey and Point Break were released 7 days apart.
No, that is a good fact.
7 days apart. It's weird because both did okay at the box office, but both got mixed reviews, but have both gone on to become bona fide cult classics. And no other actor has had movies that had that trajectory that were released within 7 days ever in the history of cinema.
That is a good fact.
It cost 15 million more to make and made nearly 15 million less than the first movie.
Is that true? I can't believe that. So why did people not like it anymore? Or is it just the same people went to see it, but it cost that much more to make?
Well, good question, Victoria. There's an argument that says there was a bit of, because the first movie was such a pop culture phenomenon, it was breakfast cereals, and there was a cartoon, and there was also a live action TV show. And I can't work out if it came out before or after this, but it was utterly appalling by all accounts. But there was this saturation of Bill and Ted everywhere. So the thinking is that perhaps it had been overexposed and people were like, I'm kind of over.
Okay.
Bill and Ted now.
Bill, I just have one question for you. What is it, Ted? What color is an orange? Ted, you bonehead. Its color is the same as its name, just like a lemon.
Interestingly, so Fox TV were like, we want to make a TV show of Bill and Ted, and Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon went in and pitched their take on a TV series of their creations, Bill and Ted, and Fox went, that's interesting, and then passed and gave it to Darren Star, the creator of Beverly Hills 90210. They went, we prefer his pitch.
Wow.
He's also the guy who went on to do Sex and the City. I mean, imagine going, we created them, and this is what we wanted.
They're actually ours.
Yeah. And them going,
oh, we loved it, but we like the way this guy does it better. That's so brutal, isn't it? But that's the way it goes.
I've tried to watch some of it online. You can find some bits and pieces of the TV show, and it is utterly awful.
Okay.
I feel sorry for the two guys who've been cast as Bill and Ted in it.
We stand most non-triumphantly outside the circle of love. I am hellaciously bummed.
Do not be, Ted. Somewhere, there are two babes who are dreaming of their destiny, dudes. And those two dudes are us. We are? Yeah.
I will say what it does, watching them do these quite terrible impersonations of Bill and Ted, you do appreciate the nuance that Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves bring to those roles.
Ever interfere with our undying devotion to the wild stallions? No way.
Dude, I got a very bad feeling.
We open in the future, which I like because I like the future and I like things that look like the future and I like world building, and they've built a world here that looks, in probably about 3 to 5 minutes of screen time, a complete world. We do see a statue outside of Bill and Ted in their classic poses be excellent to each other. Is it a joke that that statue of Keanu Reeves is possibly the most offensive visualization of Keanu Reeves I've ever seen?
What do you mean he doesn't look very handsome?
He doesn't look anything like him. He's like got a massive bulbous head and the dimensions are off. I'm giving the movie the benefit of the doubt here and going, that's just a joke. But I don't think it is.
No, I didn't see that. It's just a bad statue.
Do you know where they shot that university? That is the Tillman Water Reclamation Plant in Van Nuys, LA.
Wow.
And I mentioned that because there's a few Star Trek references in this movie.
Yeah.
And that is the building that is used to represent Starfleet Academy in episodes of Star Trek Voyager and Star Trek The Next Generation.
That's quite a good fact. I'm quite excited about that.
Then they ask the princesses to marry them. Still don't know their names, but they're asked to marry them, and it's beautiful. And they have little.
It is actually quite sweet.
It is.
It's really odd because they do make a joke later when they say like, "Our girlfriends are most chaste," which is very funny.
Yeah, what? I wonder if after we're married, the princesses will stay over with us. Yeah, our girlfriends are most chaste. Yeah, at least they're not dating our dads. Good point, dude. Yeah.
But prior to that, around that time, you've had the proposal and they get a little kiss on the cheek for their trouble and stuff like that. And it is very clever the way it's written when Bill and Ted are making their joint proposals. But these two dudes who like love each other so much, but they're too bashful to do that in front of each other. So they get like the scoozers dude thing, and they're doing a speech, but they've each got similar lines in the speech. It was really cute.
Yeah. So then we are off on our little journey where the robots decide to kill Bill and Ted, and they accomplish this by throwing them off the Vasquez Rocks, which are just outside Los Angeles, which are famous because they're in the 1967 Star Trek episode Arena, in which Captain Kirk defeats the reptilian Gorn, which we've actually seen on a TV screen earlier in this, so that's good. And then, for me, I've enjoyed everything so far. The movie properly starts now.
Yeah, agreed.
Because William Sadler turns up as Death, and he is the most fantastic thing I have watched on screen in a long time. Not just in this Bill and Ted's universe. He's fantastic.
He's so good.
I've never watched an actor hit every single line they have, some of which aren't actually written that funny, with such perfection that he just elevates it to perfect.
Yeah.
He's so good.
He's brilliant.
He's so good.
You might be a king or a little street sweeper, but sooner or later you dance with the Reaper. Get down with your bed, sir. I love show business.
The Great Gag, which I'm sure I've seen elsewhere, but for the life of me, I can't remember, where they're falling for ages before they arrive in hell.
Yeah.
And they're screaming, and then they decide to play a game of 20 questions. And it is the funniest game of 20 questions ever. Hey, do you want to play 20 questions? Okay, I got one. Are you a mineral? Are you a tank?
It's very funny.
There's so much information in that joke about the kind of people they are.
Yeah, it's great.
So these are their own personal hells, and then they escape from them, and the Easter Bunny and the Granny and Colonel Oates are all chasing them, and then another brilliant bit that happens is they sort of just go, how do we get from these corridors to an entirely different part of this movie? And they simply go, we're going to have to play the Reaper, and he turns up and like, bang, we're in Grim Reaper's castle, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
That is great.
Just because why not? It's a riff on the Seventh Seal, which is just great. We're into one of the greatest moments of this film, where he plays them at Battleship, Electric Football, Cluedo, Twister, and it's simply quite great. And William Sadler, as I said before, just nails everything. And I started thinking about him, because I think when I saw this, I think I'd maybe seen him in Die Hard 2. At this point, Die Harder, where he's Colonel Stewart at the start, you know, where he's all naked doing Tai Chi in the hotel room. And then you think about the Shawshank Redemption. I honestly, you sort of think back to all the roles, and we did him on the Mist episode.
That's what I couldn't believe it was the same person.
You go, well, that guy should have an Oscar.
Yeah.
He's so good.
He's for this, though.
Yeah, for this.
J7.
Hit. A hit. You have sunk my battleship.
Now, I think Chris might have been vocal about this, but he does not like Station.
No, he doesn't, does he?
How do you feel about Station?
What are Chris's reasons for hating Station? Doesn't like the name. So we've got two little stations, and then the joke is it's just the singular station, but it's two little creatures.
Yeah.
And then for no fucking reason at all that I can see, they become one big station.
Yeah.
What's the fucking point of that? Like, who can afford to... Like, now you talk about the budget, now it gets interesting, because it's like you've just spaffed all that money making a big station, or... don't have two little ones. It's not like in the real world, you can't blend those costumes together to make a big station.
No.
You've got to make three.
The name Station was the result of a leftover editing typo. Chris Matheson and Ed Sullivan, they said they had to cut a scene from the script that was labelled Int Police Station. They took it out, but accidentally left the word station part dangling. And as they were drunk at the time, they found that saying station in tiny Martian voices was hilarious, and the name stuck.
So that's what happens when they start to use a word processor. That's rather than writing the thing out by hand, you get hilarious gags like that.
Yeah.
That one's me, right?
This is where, like, it's really interesting because you can find some stills online. A whole sequence was cut out of this movie because they go from building the robots to jumping in the van and going straight to Battle of the Bands. And then they walk in and defeat evil Bill and Ted. There's a whole other bit here where what happens is, and you hear it and you go, that's so good. Bill and Ted, when Nomalist goes, enact the final plan, evil Bill and Ted are meant to open their chests and pull out fear canisters. And they press these canisters, and these canisters release the creatures from Bill and Ted's personal hells, but they're giant and scarier than they were in the hell sequence. So you've got the giant evil clawed. It's a horrible creation when you look at the stills. Easter Bunny chasing them along in the van with a granny in a wheelchair whizzing after them, and Colonel Oates with a bazooka chasing them.
Yeah.
And the bunny rabbit tries to rip off the roof of the van and gets them. And in the end, to defeat them, they have to face their fears.
Oh,
so
that's
Ted
nice.
calls Deacon and goes, I just want to admit I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I stole your Easter basket when we were kids. Bill goes, I'm just going to kiss Granny. And she's like, oh, was that so bad?
Oh, that's really nice.
And then Colonel Oates, and granted they might have changed this for the film, but in the comic book adaptation, Colonel Oates, basically they talked to him and his dad was really abusive to him.
Yeah, and that's why he's like that.
And that's why he's like that.
Yeah, that's really good.
And and then they all disappear. And in this, because you've got the whole world there sort of watching them play this song, like I'd had some beers by this point, but I did well up at the end of this movie when they were playing God Gave Rock and Roll to You.
Oh, yeah.